Good morning students, welcome back to the science class. In our previous class we have discussed about physical and chemical changes. In part 2 we are going to discuss about examples in detail. We are going to discuss about the rusting of iron, which is a chemical change, whereas crystallization is a physical change. About that in detail we are going to discuss in the today's class. But before that, I want you to recall the properties of physical change and chemical change along with the examples. And we have understood the differences also between physical and chemical change. Let us begin the. Let's see the example of rusting of iron. Rusting of iron. Let us take an example of this. This is one change that affects iron articles and slowly destroys them. Most of the things around us are made up of iron articles. Here, rusting is the change which destroy them slowly. Since iron is used in making bridges, ships, cars, truck bodies and many other articles, the monetary loss due to rusting is huge. The process of rusting can be represented by the following equation. Iron, when it comes in contact with oxygen and water, it leads to rust. The symbol of iron is Fe and the symbol of oxygen is O2. When it combines with the water, molecular formula of water is H2O. When iron come in contact with oxygen and water, it leads to rust. It forms ferrous oxide. Ferrous oxide or iron oxide. The molecular formula of ferrous oxide is Fe2O3. You can see here the red color powder like substance on the gate and on the key. Here new substance is also obtained. This is the chemical change. When iron come in contact with oxygen and water, it leads to rusting. Rusting of iron. It is a chemical change. Let us see how it takes place. For rusting, the presence of both oxygen and water is essential. In fact, if the content of moisture in air is high, which means if it is more humid, rusting becomes faster. Means there is more moisture content in the atmosphere, immediately the rate of rusting will increases. So how do we prevent rusting? Prevent iron articles from coming in contact with oxygen or water or both. So first option is to preventing them to come in contact with oxygen, water or from both. Means we have to keep away from oxygen and water. But most of the objects are regularly they are in contact with water and oxygen. One simple way is to apply a coat, paint or grease. In fact, this coat should be applied regularly to prevent rusting. That is why our gates are painted in different colors. Another way is to deposit a layer of a metal like chromium or zinc on iron. One layer chromium or zinc is deposited on the iron to prevent the rusting. The process of depositing a layer of zinc on iron is called galvanization. This process is called as galvanization. Here a layer of chromium or zinc is deposited on the iron. Like how we apply a nail polish on our nail, in the same way a rusting can be prevented by applying a paint or by depositing the layer of zinc or chromium. This method is called as galvanization. The process of depositing a layer of zinc on iron is called galvanization. The iron pipes we use in our homes to carry water are galvanized to prevent rusting. See here, we use iron pipes in our home for carrying water. Already you know that rusting will take place only in presence of oxygen and water. That is why those pipes are galvanized. You can see this is galvanized pipes. If we not galvanize, it will become rusted. That pipe become block because of rust. You can see the brown color powder because regularly it is in contact with water. So galvanization is the best method to prevent rusting. Even painting is also the easier way to prevent rusting, but regularly we need to paint the iron or steel objects. Crystallization is the next method, means next change which we are going to discuss now. It is a physical change. As you know that salt can be obtained by evaporation of seawater. The salt obtained in this manner is not pure, and the shape of its crystal cannot be seen clearly. However, large crystal of pure substances can be formed from their solutions. See, after evaporation we get salt, but it is mixture of different types of salt, and even there is no particular shape of those crystals. So the process crystallization will take place. The process of crystallization is an example of physical change. Large crystal of pure substance can be formed from their solution. From the solution we get a large crystal. That process is called as crystallization. You can see here the crystals of salt. Here we have an activity to prepare a crystal. Take a cup full of water in a beaker and add few drops of dilute sulfuric acid. Heat the water. When it starts boiling, add copper sulfate powder slowly while stirring continuously. We need to boil the water. When it starts boiling, we need to stir continuously by adding copper sulfate powder. Continue adding copper sulfate powder till no more powder can be dissolved. Filter the solution. Allow it to cool. Do not disturb the solution when it is cooling. We should not disturb. Means we need to add as much as copper sulfate powder till it cannot be dissolved in the water. After that we need to allow it to cool. Look at the solution after some time. After some time we can see the crystals of copper sulfate powder. Copper sulfate turns into copper sulfate crystal. You can see here in this. Slowly he has done the same procedure. After that you can see the copper sulfate crystal coming out from the liquid. It is in blue color. Copper sulfate powder is in blue color. When the solution cools down, you can see the crystal of copper sulfate coming out of the solution. See here, rusting of iron is a chemical change because new substance is obtained there. Rust, the red color powder is obtained, so it is a chemical change, whereas crystallization is a physical change. Only change in the structure. You can see here powdered copper sulfate turns into a crystal copper sulfate. So crystallization is an example of physical change. In this lesson what we have learned, let us discuss the points whatever we have discussed till now. Change can be of two types, physical and chemical. Physical change or chemical change. Physical change are changes in the physical properties of substance. If there is a change in the physical property of the substance, then it is an example of physical change. No new substance are formed in these changes. These changes may be reversible. It can be reversible. See, we made copper sulfate crystal. Again, we can grind it to make a copper sulfate powder. Only the structure of the crystal has changed. Right. Again, we can crush it and make it into a powder. So, it is a reversible change. In chemical changes, new substances are produced. Rusting of iron is a chemical change. That is why the new red color powder is produced on the iron. Some substances can be obtained in pure state from their solutions by crystallization. Crystallization is the method in which we get a pure crystals, pure state of the substance. Okay, these are things we have discussed in our class. Hope you understood the changes along with the properties of physical change and chemical change. It is important to remember the difference between physical change and chemical change along with the examples. Okay student, bye bye.